Hey, Mike. Hey, I balance it version. Hey, balance, 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 balance. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Balance, 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 balance. Yeah. All right, looking a little better. All right. So I'm gonna pull this down a little bit. All right. So I pull this down a little bit. Right. Am I hot on the board? Right.
Good afternoon to members of the media, those of you tuned in via Tobago Channel 5 and the TTT, and those tuned in online. I'm Davia Chambers. We do apologize for the late start this afternoon. However, welcome to this week's Post-Executive Council media briefing, where we keep you up to date with decisions taken at the weekly Executive Council meeting. We're going to begin now as I invite Assemblyman Marcelin Melville-Jack, Secretary of the Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor, as well as the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, to make her presentation.
Good afternoon to you, members of the media, and to those of you viewing and listening on various platforms. My name is Marcelin Melville-Jack, and I am honored to make my presentation to you as Secretary of the Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor, as well as the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy on matters pertaining to education and community development. On Monday, 8th February 2021, all 9 secondary schools resumed face-to-face learning for Forms 4, 5, and 6, as required for the opening or the purpose of completing school-based assessment, laboratory practicals, and internal assessments. The Division of Education, Innovation, and Energy ensured that the critical support services were in place for these students. Transportation services were provided by the Public Transportation Service Corporation, PTSC. Meals were provided through the division's school nutrition unit, and there was the engagement of additional guidance counselors and school social workers to enhance staffing at the Student Support Services Unit. The division is currently in the process of procuring tents for secondary schools to be used as isolation areas for students exhibiting flu-like symptoms or presenting a high fever on arrival. At present, 7 secondary schools have allotted designated areas for use as isolation areas in the interim. 2 schools have already procured tents to be used as their isolation units. Those 2 schools are Bishop's High School and Scarborough Secondary School. To date, sanitizing products have been provided to all secondary schools, and the installation of sneeze guards at the cafeterias in secondary schools is currently in progress. Installation has been completed at 7 of the 9 secondary schools. I move now to the primary school. In preparation for the reopening of primary schools for the Standard 5 students on April 12, 2021, there are some critical issues which the division intends to address to ensure a smooth reopening for all schools. They are the procurement of hand sanitizers, hand soaps and paper towel refills, the procurement of folding beds and cots for the isolation rooms, the repairs and servicing of photocopiers, the repair of some school infrastructure, the procurement of social distancing stickers, ensuring that all schools have been assigned with their requisite number of cleaning personnel, the procurement and installation of standing thermal scanners, increased internet access points at some primary schools, and the supply of disposable masks to each primary school. The secondary assessment, or the secondary entrance assessment, is scheduled to occur on Thursday, the 10th of June, 2021. And there are approximately 1,017 students that are eligible to take this examination in 2021. This figure is an increase from last year. 974 students took the exam. The 33 government and government-assisted primary schools and the 5 registered primary schools, which are private, have all completed their initial registration and verification requirements of the Ministry of Education. At this time, the school environment checklist for readiness of the physical environment is at various schools, and principals are now in the process of completing these forms. We must pay attention to the fact that the Standard 5 students have been continually engaged online, but it's just that they will be resuming face-to-face classes when school reopens on the 12th of April, 2021. Our supervisory unit at the division continues to provide the necessary support and guidance in preparation for this examination. I now move on to distribution of devices. The division ordered a total of 3,000 tablets and 1,000 laptops for ECCE centers, primary and secondary schools, as part of our response to the online and blended learning environment. To date, the division has received 1,660 devices, and these have already been distributed to primary schools on the island. A total of 224 devices were also donated to primary schools by several companies, non-governmental organizations, and private citizens who heeded the division's call to assist in supplying students in need with devices. To date, our corporate community in Tobago have donated 133 devices to secondary schools. It is my opinion that the list of companies and foundations who have donated devices to date through the division need a special mention and our heartfelt commendations. These companies are Republic Bank Limited, Digicel Foundation, Melfor Security, EIDCOT, Bellaforma Golf Club, Naturalist Beach Resort, Dwight York Foundation, LP Marketing, Mount Pleasant Credit Union, Lambeau Credit Union, Sagicor Life Insurance Company, Ingram Bain, Scarborough Secondary School Class of 72, Tobago Marketing Company, Catherine Waldron Spencer, and Violet Thomas Tobias. We have also recently received 50 Chromebooks from UNICEF, and these will be distributed to secondary schools in the following week. And by the middle of next month, our shipment of 1,000 laptops would be cleared, and this is primarily for distribution among secondary schools and among a few primary school teachers who have expressed a need. The division has also procured 151 devices for teachers, which should be delivered by the end of March 2021. Let me take this opportunity to invite all other representatives of the private sector, NGOs, CBOs, and FBOs to join the crusade to leave no child behind by donating bountifully to this drive for devices. Secondary school labs have been making the use recently, and I will now give you a status update on these labs. The repairs to science labs, installation of gas lines, fume hoods, and eye bath stations is fully completed at one secondary school, and work continues apace to have all labs operational before the May-June examination. The delays in completion have resulted from major critical variations to the scope that were observed by the contractors. IBAT stations were ordered for Bishop's High School, Harmon School of SDA, Signal Hill Secondary School, and Speyside High School. These should be delivered by March 10th. The delays were experienced due to enhanced COVID-19 protocols that were implemented for shipping. At Speyside High School, additional work was done at the gas room, which was completed, with some gas lines left to be changed. The gas lines at Harmon School of SDA should be completed by next week. At Mason Hall Secondary Schools, gas lines should be completed by March 22nd. IBAT stations and fume hood at Mason Hall Secondary were completed. However, there is need for an independent water supply within those labs that has been requested. So, ladies and gentlemen, all in all, we anticipate that all secondary school labs will be in a position where the students and the teachers can have adequate access in order to complete their labs for the examinations. Let me now turn to PTSC and school transportation. Despite the low turnout and sporadic attendance of students during the first week of school, the PTSC has provided school transportation for all service routes on a daily basis. During the second week, however, some major adjustments had to be made because a few maxis were servicing routes with no pickups. This was primarily due to the school scheduling of classes at different times of the day as required, and students making their own way to school at different times as required. As a result of these changes, week 2 saw an average of 11 maxis being utilized, transporting a daily average of 49 in the morning and 80 students in the afternoon. Ironically, within the second week, the Tobago House of Assembly received a correspondence from a legal representative retained by a few maxi-taxi concessionaires requesting that PTSC immediately cease and desist from contacting their clients. I have been assured by the manager of the PTSC that a few maxis from the Tobago National Maxi Taxi Association and another temporary maxi taxi operator continue to service the furthest routes. The Assembly's legal team will continue to investigate this matter, and you will be updated as the need arises. Finally, the district medical team. I am pleased to announce that the Executive Council has approved and confirmed today the establishment of a district medical team comprising of 1 education house officer, 1 education district nurse, and 1 education district health nurse in the Division of Education, Innovation, and Energy. And this is in line with Cabinet Note number 731 of December 8, 2020. The Education House Officer will be similar to the position of House Officer on the Division of Health, Wellness, and Family Development's permanent establishment. The job description has been modified to reflect the education system and the coverage of schools. He or she will report to the administrator of the Division of Education, Innovation, and Energy and will be based at that division. This house officer will be responsible for supervising the Education District Health Nurse and the Education Health Nurse. Today, Wednesday, 24th of February, representatives from the Division of Education, Innovation, and Energy, the Division of Health, Wellness, and Family Development, along with representatives of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, will meet to discuss the establishment of this medical team. Information on advertisement for the filling of these positions will soon become available. I now turn my attention to the Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development, and Labor. For those of you wondering how I'm coping with the added responsibility of another very large division, let me assure you that I am surmounting the challenges by the grace of God, which offers me renewed strength, but also with the committed cooperation of my two administrations, who I must mention, Mrs. Denise Toby-Quashie and Mr. Hainsley Trim, along with the dedicated assistance of department heads at both divisions. The Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor continues to deliver on its mandate to build strong families, sustainable communities, and a healthy, productive workforce. The advent of COVID-19 has severely impacted the way people in our communities live their lives, socialized, and engaged in business activities. And like the school community, we were forced to shut down our vocational skills training program with over 1,700 registered participants after only 1 month of instruction. Like schools, we considered starting the new year 2021 with a blended approach to the delivery of instruction. However, after discussion with our tutors, we have decided to conduct classes online only for theoretical learning by demonstration at this time. The practical aspect of our courses will be delivered face-to-face at a later date. So here are a few highlights of the vocational skills program. Classes are scheduled to commence on Monday, the 8th of March, 2021, and will continue until August of this year. This cycle will attract a maximum of 550 participants taken from our 2020 registration database. Each class will consist of no more than 25 participants. These participants were selected from registration data on a first-come, first-served basis. All registered persons were contacted to date. Those registered students who could not be accommodated in the 2021 cycle will be facilitated in the 2022 cycle, when we are hopeful that we can return to some measure of normalcy. 22 classes will be held virtually. Courses will be offered in 17 skilled areas, conducted from 7 multipurpose facilities across Tobago, which are internet ready. So it means that the instructor will deliver the course from these centers to students online. The selected courses are digital photography, air conditioning and refrigeration, modern winemaking, event decorating, makeup artistry, soap and candle making, food preparation, bread, cakes and pastries, natural jewelry, nail technology, floral arrangement, mixology, garment construction, handbag construction, fabric design, cake decorating, drapery and soft furnishings, and a new program that is being introduced, entrepreneurship. I would like to advise that no new registration will be invited at this time. For the sustainability of this program, our tutors were effectively trained and duly equipped to maneuver the various online platforms. Tutor training began on the 8th of February and will end on the 25th of February. A total of 50 tutors were trained. The division is also now equipped to provide virtual training to participants by the acquisition of 5 Zoom licenses, which will accommodate this and other programs within the division. The division is maximizing the use of our resources by exposing participants within this program to entrepreneurial training, as I just mentioned. And this will be done in conjunction with the Business Development Unit, because it is our intention that the vocational skills training will just be a stepping stone to individuals opening their own businesses. So these are a few of the areas that will be covered during that training. How to start and operate your own small business, taxation, marketing, customer service, national insurance, level 1, packaging, pricing, and labeling, level 2. In addition, within the Department of Community Development, 2 cycles of community-based training in the use of virtual platforms for senior citizens will be undertaken. The first is scheduled to commence in March 2021 for a period of 2 weeks, and this training will be administered in 24 communities. This department also looks forward to the commissioning of the newly refurbished Delaford Community Center in early May and the Glamorgan Community Center in the month of June. I quickly move on to the Business Development Unit. This unit within the division continues to deliver necessary support to the SME sector through our Enterprise Assistant Grant and Loan Program. The advent of COVID-19 global pandemic served as a catalyst to widen the scope of assistance provided to the business sector, since this sector was severely affected by the pandemic. From March to December 2020, the BDU distributed over $10 million in loans and grants as a stimulus package to entrepreneurs who were reeling under the devastating impact of the pandemic. More than 300 grants and 15 loans were primarily afforded to businesses in the agriculture and agro-processing sector, followed closely by the ancillary services within the tourism industry. To date, 62% of the applications received have been processed and checks distributed, while the other 38% are still in various stages of processing for a multiplicity of reasons. As the demand for grant funding increased and the available allocations dwindled, the waiting time lengthened. So let me take this opportunity to thank all the applicants for your patience. I too am very dissatisfied with the lag in response time, but I want to assure you that within the next 2 months, we will ensure that the backlog of applications are completed for payment. The first batch of these applications will be distributed on Friday, 26 February, and we envisage that similar distributions will take place every Friday within the next 2 months. I therefore wish to put a temporary suspension on new applications from Monday, 1st March, to allow us the flexibility to successfully complete the couple hundred applications that are currently on hand. Still with the Business Development Unit, this unit intends to host a Tobago Business Expo in the month of May 2021 in an attempt to stimulate the small and micro business sector on the island through a collaborative effort with the Community Development Department and the local entrepreneurs on the island. I will bring my presentation to a close with an update on the Building and Maintenance Unit within this division. There are a few ongoing projects, some that have started a little later than was originally intended. Number 1, the construction of the Charlottesville Community Center and Pavilion. This project is being project managed by UDCOT at a cost of $12.3 million, and we propose a renewed commencement date of March 2021 and an estimated completion date of March 2022. The Speyside Multipurpose Facility is currently undergoing waterproofing works, painting and application of a bituminous membrane to the roof because we must deal with the leaking issue. This is contracted at a cost of 1.5 million. It began in November 2020 and the estimated date of completion is April 2021. Refurbishment of the Delaford Community Center is almost complete at a cost of 1.9 million. We know that this facility is one of the oldest on the island, so a complete upgrade was required. This began in October 2021 and the estimated date of completion is April 2021. The refurbishment of the Glamorgan Community Center at a cost of 1.8 million. Commencement date October 2020. Estimated date of completion May 2021. Hampden Lowlands Multipurpose Facility, which has been down for a very long time. Again, we are dealing with a waterproofing issue here, which is something that cannot be rushed. But this started way back in September 2020, and the estimated date of completion, May 2021. So, ladies and gentlemen, members of the viewing and listening public, I wish to belatedly inform you that the highly anticipated Charlottesville Microenterprise Center was finally completed and officially commissioned at a key distribution ceremony on Friday, the 18th of December 2020. And you can look forward to the commissioning of the long-awaited Adventia Micro Center in Plymouth at a key distribution ceremony on Thursday, 4th March. That's just next week at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Jack. Members of the media, you are now allowed to ask your questions. Of course, remember that once you have a question, you just indicate by raising your virtual hand. Clayton Clark, Radio Tambourine. Good afternoon, Clayton.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Davia, and to Mrs. Jack.
Good afternoon, Clayton.
You mentioned in terms of getting the schools ready for reopening and getting all the protocols in place. We are here, there were reports, I don't know if it's in Tobago, but in Trinidad, of schools selling face masks to students who come to school without masks. What is the policy, what is the arrangement with Tobago schools?
Clayton, I can assure you that at our secondary schools at this point in time, every secondary school was given a box of 250 masks by the Division of Education, and these are to be given to students who may have forgotten their mask for some reason or the other. So no sales are taking place at any schools in Tobago. And the same will be done for the primary schools when they reopen in April.
Elizabeth Williams, TV6. Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Good afternoon. I don't know if Mrs. Marcelin Melville Jack is aware, but there are some persons in Tobago who still have not received their COVID relief grants. I don't know if persons who are in Tobago have not received those grants, what is the process? And also, in addition, Yes, I am also aware of a particular situation out of the Office of the Prime Minister where one employee is constantly being told the application is approved, but they are waiting for someone to sign off on the grants and they are not receiving their grants every time they call. I don't know if this also could be looked into.
Thank you for the information, Liz. And I appear to be superwoman at some times, but I'm going to leave that to be addressed by the Secretary for Health, Wellness and Family Development. But I will pass on this information to her, and this may be addressed at the next media briefing.
Do we have any more questions? Any other member of the media? Clayton Clark, Radio Tambourine. Good afternoon again, Clayton.
Mrs. Melville Jack, you made reference to the matter between the Tobago House of Assembly and the maxi taxi concessionaires. In our corresponding with the maxi taxis, one of their claims is that the THA has not responded in any manner to them in any of the, even with the legal writ presented, no response has come from the THA with whether denying, confirming, no response from the THA. You are now the secretary in charge of that division. Can you just elaborate on what sort of response does the division and the THA intend to deal with this matter?
Well, as I intimated earlier, our legal team is working on this. As far as I know, the letter may have been written to PTSC directly, and it was up to them to respond. However, the Division of Education has also sent a letter to PTSC asking for a response, and as soon as this response is given, then you will hear from the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy through our legal person.
Do we have any more questions? It seems like there are no more questions, so that brings us to the end of this week's Post-Executive Council media briefing. Thank you to our members of the media for joining us, as well as you, our viewing audience. I'm Davia Chambers. Do enjoy the remainder of your afternoon.